Millionaire single dad found a homeless woman digging through trash on Christmas Eve. What she said. Snow dusted the streets of New York on Christmas Eve as Thomas Hale, a millionaire single dad, hurried out of his office tower to the world. Thomas was ruthless, efficient, and untouchable, the kind of man who built an empire out of nothing. But to his 8-year-old daughter, Emily, he was just dad, the one who read bedtime stories and tried, clumsily, to braid her hair before school. As he crossed the street, Thomas noticed movement near the alley beside his building. A woman in a tattered coat was bent over a trash bin, pulling out scraps of bread and half-empty coffee cups. Her hands trembled in the freezing air. Thomas frowned, partly out of pity, partly out of discomfort. He approached. "Miss, you shouldn't be out here," he said, his voice clipped but not unkind. The woman turned, startled. Her eyes were startlingly clear beneath the grime. "I don't have a choice," she whispered. "It's Christmas Eve, and I just wanted something, anything warm. Not for me, but for my boy." Thomas froze. She wasn't scavenging for herself, she was scavenging for her child. Something in his chest cracked. He remembered Emily's face that morning, bright with excitement over gingerbread cookies and presents. "Where is he?" Thomas asked. She hesitated, then pointed to the bundle of blankets at the edge of the alley. A little boy, no older than 6, peeked out, shivering. In that moment, Thomas saw himself alone, desperate, fighting to protect the one person he loved most. He had clawed his way out of poverty years ago, but he'd never forgotten the hunger. Without another word, Thomas took off his scarf and wrapped it around the boy. Then he said something that startled even himself. "Come with me, both of you." The woman gasped. "Why, you don't even know me." Thomas looked her in the eye. "Because I know what it's like to be alone on Christmas Eve, and no child deserves to spend it in the cold." That night, his mansion, once quiet and cold, despite its wealth, was filled with laughter, warmth, and the smell of fresh-baked cookies. Emily held the boy's hand as if they had been friends forever, while the woman sat by the fire, tears in her eyes. She whispered to Thomas when Emily wasn't looking, "You didn't just save us tonight. You gave me hope I thought I'd lost forever." And Thomas realized it was true. Sometimes, the greatest gift wasn't money, but kindness. The city glistened with holiday lights, every street corner alive with laughter, music, and the scent of roasted chestnuts. Shoppers hurried past, clutching bags filled with last-minute gifts, their faces flushed with excitement. But not everyone was celebrating. Thomas Hale, 38, adjusted his wool coat as he left his office tower. He was the kind of man tabloids called the Iron Millionaire, a widowed single dad who had built $1 billion tech company from nothing. Ruthless in the boardroom, yes. But with his daughter Emily, only 8 years old, he was soft, almost awkward. That night, he was supposed to pick her up from his sister's house, where she'd been baking gingerbread cookies. Emily had begged him not to work so late. "Dad, Santa doesn't bring presents to people stuck in offices," she had teased. Her laughter still echoed in his ears as he walked. Then he saw her in the alley beside the marble steps of his building. A woman hunched over a trash bin. Her coat was ragged, her shoes soaked from melted snow. She pulled out a stale bagel and blew on it as though warming her hands. Thomas stopped. For a moment, he debated walking past. This was New York, after all. People fell through the cracks every day. But then, the woman turned, and he saw her eyes. They weren't the dull, lifeless eyes of someone who had given up. They were alert, desperate, filled with fire. "Miss," he said cautiously, stepping closer. "You shouldn't be digging through the trash on a night like this." Her face flushed with embarrassment. "I didn't want to," she whispered, "but I had to find something. For my son." Thomas blinked. "Your son." The woman motioned toward the far corner of the alley. Thomas followed her gaze and froze. A little boy, bundled in thin blankets, sat huddled against the wall. His cheeks were hollow, his lips tinged blue from the cold. He looked about 6 Emily's age. His wide eyes studied Thomas like he wasn't sure whether to trust him. Something shifted inside Thomas's chest. A memory surged him at 12 years old, before the fortune, before the empire. Him, standing outside a bakery in the snow, too poor to buy bread. His late wife had once told him, "Don't let the world harden you. Remember where you came from." Thomas cleared his throat. He shouldn't be out here. Neither should you. The woman pulled the bagel close to her chest. Protective. "We don't have anywhere else. Shelters are full. I just needed something to keep him fed tonight." Her voice cracked on the last word, and Thomas's heart squeezed. He took a slow breath. "What's your name?" "Claire," she said softly. "Claire," Thomas repeated, as if testing it. Then he looked at the boy, and his Ethan. Thomas crouched down, his expensive shoes sinking into slush. He unwound the cashmere scarf from his neck and wrapped it gently around the boy. Ethan flinched at first, then leaned into the warmth. Claire's eyes widened. "Why are you?" Thomas straightened. "Because no child deserves to spend Christmas Eve in an alley." He hesitated, then said the words that startled even himself. "Come with me. Both of you." Claire shook her head immediately. "No, we can't. You don't know us." Thomas met her gaze. His voice dropped, softer now. "I don't need to. I know what it's like to be forgotten. Let me help." That night, the Hale mansion, usually cold and quiet despite its wealth, came alive. Emily's squeal of joy when she saw Ethan melted the last bit of hesitation in Claire's heart. "Daddy, you brought friends," Emily cried, rushing to take Ethan's hand. Within minutes, Emily was showing Ethan the towering Christmas tree, her favorite ornaments, and the gingerbread cookies she had made. Ethan, shy at first, broke into a smile so wide it nearly broke Claire. Claire sat by the fire, tears welling in her eyes, as the warmth of the room wrapped around her like a forgotten memory. Thomas handed her a mug of cocoa. "It's not much," he said awkwardly, "but it's better than digging through trash." Claire's fingers trembled as she accepted it. She looked at him, eyes shining. "You didn't just save us tonight," she whispered. "You gave me hope. I thought I'd lost forever." Thomas didn't reply right away. He was watching Emily and Ethan laugh together by the tree. Something stirred deep within him, a vision of what family could be, perhaps. Or maybe just the reminder that kindness was worth more than fortune. And in that moment, on Christmas Eve, the Iron Millionaire felt something he hadn't in years: home.